What's going on YouTube? Welcome in, I am LuboATM and welcome to another video here on the channel. It is another Shrine of Secrets discussion. I physically cannot believe that it's Wednesday already, but here we are. So if it's a new video for you guys, you've not seen any of the other Shrine discussions before, this is where I go through all 4 perks on the Shrine, tell you what they do, what they combo well with or not well with, and let you know whether they're worth your hard-earned shards. So let's get started with the first perk on the Shrine this week, which is Balanced Landing, which is a Nia teachable. So after falling from a great height, or a height, your stagger is reduced by 75% and your grunts are muffled by 100%. Upon landing, you're given a 150% speed boost for a maximum of 3 seconds. And basically after you get your speed boost, you get the exhausted status effect, so in essence it's another exhaustion perk. It says 60 seconds there, but if you get the perk to tier 3, the effect is for 40 seconds. So I really like Balanced Landing. I think specifically on a few of the maps, it's ridiculously powerful. So like if you've got Haddonfield, the game, Midwich, like anything that's got like a second floor drop, in fact even some maps on Badham as well, thinking about it, it can be really beneficial, because there's a lot of times where you find yourself, if you're vaulting out a top floor window in Badham for example, and you land, it takes ages for the animation to go through for the landing, and by the time you've even landed, the killer's already out the window and on top of you. Whereas if you have Balanced Landing, you basically land and then speed off instantly. I just think it's a really good perk. Like, I think it's a really underrated exhaustion perk. Like, obviously the most you see around are your dead hards and your sprint bursts. I think the Balanced Landing's a very good alternative, and I think for the amount of maps you can get benefit out of it, I think it's very good, and I think it's very underrated getting the stagger reduction from drops. I know that it's no longer, it used to be the case you used to get the permanent stagger reduction. I know that's not a thing anymore. But I still think that in clutch, especially like as we're talking about Haddonfield, if you're dropping off like one of the porches on the house, it can get you far enough away to buy some more time for another loop or another few loops or whatever. It's just a really good perk. I honestly, obviously the issue is that if you spawn onto a map with no drop points, it's a wasted perk slot. But at the same time, if you run dead hard and you're on console and it only works half the time, then isn't that basically like an empty perk slot? But yeah, I think from the exhaustion perks, I don't think it's one of the OP strongest, but I do definitely think it's beneficial. Okay, next on the Shrine is Breakdown, which is a Jeff teachable. So anytime you're removed from the hook or escaped or saved, the hook breaks and the killer's aura is shown to you. It says 4 seconds there. If you get it to tier 3, it's 6 seconds, and the hook is broken for 3 minutes. So again, this is a really good perk. It's interesting. For some reason, it gets bugged quite a lot, that when you get unhooked, it just completely breaks the hook for the rest of the game. I know that was a pretty serious bug not that long ago in Dead by Daylight. So I think it's really good in the sense that the breaking the hook, if it's the only hook around or things like that, if you get down straight away again, it doesn't give the killer the opportunity to pick you up and put you straight back on the same hook. I also think the ability to see the killer's aura for 6 seconds after you're unhooked, so if someone's safely unhooked you, you can see where they are and you can kind of make your decision based on whether it's safe to heal under hook, or if you can see that they're starting to come back your direction, you can kind of get to a safer area. As always, I think visibility perks are always very strong in Survivor. Knowing where the killer is and what they're doing at any time always gives you the upper hand. So especially when you're in a vulnerable state, like coming straight off a hook, especially if you're not running, if there's no borrowed time or you don't have decisive strike, knowing where the killer is and if they're on their way back to you can buy you that precious time to go somewhere safe and get healed up. And again, the hook breakdown is kind of like the 3 minute sabo is also nice. You can have a lot of fun with it if you're playing in like a Swift or comms, if you have people that bring some toolboxes or saboteur. Like if you get unhooked and they've saboed, or they can sabo, or 99% sabo other hooks around, then you know that if anyone goes down in that area, they're pretty much not going to get hooked and wiggle off. That's fun. A really good one I've found actually to pair this with is Off the Record. So basically the plan is you get unhooked, you can see the killer's aura. If they're coming directly back from hook, you don't leave any scratch marks for like a minute, so you can get miles away from the killer. It's quite a good one for like a bit of off hook protection, and especially if you're coming up against like a camping or a tunneling killer, it can be really, really beneficial. So that's a combo I do like to run with Breakdown occasionally. Moving on to the first killer perk on the shrine this week, which is Hex Haunted Grounds. So 2 trapped Hex tokens will spawn in the trial. When either one of the 2 trapped Hex tokens is cleansed by a survivor, all survivors suffer from the exposed status effect. It says 40 there, tier 3 is 60 seconds. So basically, if they cleanse Haunted Grounds, everyone on the map's exposed for 60 seconds. So it gives you a huge opportunity to get a ridiculous amount of pressure in that 60 seconds. Like, if you know that a lot of survivors are grouped together, it gives you the opportunity to get multiple downs and pull survivors off objectives. You might not get everyone downed and hooked, but if you can even get 2 people downed and hooked, then you know that you're having to pull at least one of the other survivors off to come for the rescue. If you can cut them off in the mid-between, then you know at that point 2 people are on hook, one's in chase, the other one's going for the save. No one's working generators, no one's doing totems, all that sort of stuff. So it's a really good pressure perk. I think people don't particularly like it because they get frustrated that when they get the exposed thing for a minute, especially if it's cleansed right at the beginning of the map and you have no idea where anyone is. It can be a bit of an empty perk slot, if you want to call it that. I can understand the frustration. I can understand the frustration, and a lot of people as well, if they don't get multiple downs in the exposed status phase, they feel it's a bit of a waste, or they down someone who's already injured. It's a bit of a waste. But I think it is, especially if it doesn't get cleansed immediately, if you've already kind of got a little bit of momentum in the match and someone finds a glowing totem and they go, oh, I'm going to cleanse that, you can really kind of turn the tide in your favour. I think it's a really good momentum shifting perk if cleansed at the right time. But again, the same thing with every Hex totem, it's a high risk, high reward perk. And if it gets burst instantly and you don't know where anyone is, then it's more than likely going to lead to no value. But again, it's very good. You can combo this with Retribution as well. In terms of like once it's then cleansed, you'll know exactly where people are because you'll get the aura reading from it. Although that's saying that, I'm not entirely sure if you only get the aura from a Hex totem if they cleanse Retribution, but could be. And then the standard one in the books, I don't know if this bug's still here. I was kind of thinking about mentioning this and not sure because I don't know if it's still there, but it used to be if you paired it with Undying, that obviously the first totem that you cleanse is always Undying, but I think there was a bug or something going on that if you cleansed it, you got the Haunted Grounds value and it took away your Undying, so the second glowing totem was still on the map and you could use it and get like double Haunted Ground value. So that's one to keep an eye out for. I don't know if that bug's still there though, so just be wary if you do try it. It might not still be in the game. They might have patched it out. And the final one is a Clown Teachable, kind of universally S tier graded perk, Pop Goes the Weasel. After you hook a survivor, the next generator you damage will lose 25% of its progress. Normal regression speed applies after the generator has been damaged, and you have, I believe, 45 seconds. Yes, at tier 3. It says 35 there, but at tier 3 it's 45 seconds. So again, as always, everyone probably already knows about Pop Goes the Weasel. You hook someone, you go to gen, you kick it, they lose 25% progression. If you're playing in a map where there's gens almost done, or you're being gen rushed, it means you can kind of take a lot of that progress away. There's a lot of perks you can combo this. There's not really much point in me going through all the perks you can combo this with to get value. Some of the big hitters is a lot of people pair it with Ruin because there's a good chance Ruin will get cleansed very early in the match, so you've got this to fall back on. Tinkerer, so you know if you've hooked someone and Tinkerer goes off, you know there's a gen you can go and knock back 25%. It's almost complete. Again, there's just so many. You could use any of the gen damaging perks like Eruption, Dragon's Grip, Overcharge, anything like that to combo with Oppression as well. Brutal Strength to get quicker kicking on it. There's so much stuff you can do with this perk, and there's so many different ways and builds you can incorporate it into. Particularly if you're a high mobility killer. I should actually say that about Haunted Grounds as well, but these are both very good perks for high mobility killers because you can make your way across the map quickly and use your pop on the gen that needs it the most rather than the one that's closest to you. So if you're like a Wraith or a Freddy or Blight or Hellbilly, you can use either one of these perks to cover a lot of ground on the map to get the most amount of value out of them. Yeah, again, probably not a lot of point going into Pop Goes the Weasel in any great detail. It's just an excellent perk. But that's that. Another Shrine video in the books. As always, I'll do my recommendation for either one. I think it's pretty standard that would go Balanced Landing and Pop for this week for Survivor and Killer. If you can only afford one, obviously just go for whatever one you main. If you're a Survivor main, go for Balanced. Killer main, go for Pop. But yeah, these two are probably the two clear standouts. Although these two are still good perks. It's not a Shrine this week where there's like a terrible perk on there that's just out of contention. I think you can get use out of all four of these in different situations. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining into another Shrine of Secrets video. I am LuboATM. As always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, come check me out on Twitch a couple of times a week at twitch.tv/LuboATM. And until I see you guys next time, peace.